Okay, this is called Business of Construction Beyond Technical, and that could be used in two different ways of thinking about it. Beyond technical, like I can't believe you can't even call this technical. It's so far past technical. But in reality, what I'm saying is we're not going to get in so much to the technical aspect of it. We're going to get into the softer skills of our business of construction. So looking at our core values, we talk about them all the time, and I want to continue to talk about them because they are the ingredients to our success. We talk about them as values, but values really represent behaviors, how we behave, how we act. And when we put these four behaviors into play in business and or life, good things happen. So respond. Critical step for communication and respect is response and getting back to people in a timely manner based on the situation. One day later is good for someone calling about a situation that is not urgent. One day later, calling back under emergency, not great. So it just depends on the situation and how we respond. I heard something today I thought was really good. It said respect is like air. When it's around us, we don't think much of it. But the second you remove it, we can't stop thinking about it. That's respect. And think about that when you're talking to someone and you get into a situation where they are disrespectful, they open up with a disrespectful comment. Really hard to stay focused after that. No matter what you say, no matter how kind you are after that opening disrespectful note, it's hard to get back on track. So think about respect like air. Make sure it's always present in every conversation, in every situation. Reliable, we do what we say we'll do. I think this one gets thrown around a lot and not necessarily followed through. We are a reliable company. We have to be reliable in all ways. I went into the restroom today, 3 rolls of empty toilet paper sitting there in the restroom. Those are little things that they concern me because it tells me that someone was in here, cleaned them out, apparently used the toilet seat protector in lieu, and then left the restroom and did nothing with it. Those are just the things that we can do to be reliable for the other people that work for us. And resourceful is finding a way to get things done. So we have 180 people that work for us, and 180 people are all sitting there at different levels of work sitting on their desk, all different. And resourceful doesn't necessarily always mean you have to be the one to get that thing done, but it means reaching out, finding some way to get it done, and don't use the excuse, I was too busy. We have plenty of people that can help you and support you. And that is what resourceful is finding ways to get it done. It may not have to be you, it might be someone else, but find a way to get it done. So I want to do a quick think moment. If we had a 5th value, so I'll give you about 30 seconds, really think deep about this. If we added a 5th value, what do you think it would be? And it could be aspirational. In other words, I wish we were this thing, or it could be something that describes who we are. All right, let's go to the phone. Anybody ever listen to radio when you were younger? Let's go to the phone. Our first caller is Brandon Getz, coming in from Columbiana, Ohio. Hi, Brandon. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm great. What's your 5th value?
Motivated.
Motivated. I like it. Motivated. And that is a aspirational or actual?
It could be both.
So some people are motivated. Some we hope become motivated. Good.
Yes.
Let's go to the room. We got Durkar.
I think something along the lines of ambitious, because we can respond, we can do a lot of these things, and I think having a little more care for what you do in all these, that ambitious. When you're using your resources, I think you have to be ambitious about it, not just do it just because you have to do it. You just get out there, you look to maybe improve some of our values as well, the ones that we do have. It's that ambition to help move forward, improve.
Yeah, that's a good word. It doesn't get used a lot in business, but it is one of the keys to continued success. Is it's hard to keep ambitious sometimes. We just get burned out, drained out. But to stay ambitious, to continue to fight on those days where it's not easy, you don't feel good. I got a pounding headache right now, don't know why, but you got to keep moving forward. Those are the times where ambition shows up. Very good. Thank you. Back to the calling board, Josh Altman.
Yeah, I went with passionate, having that strong belief that what we do matters and we're trying to make the world a better place and connection more.
Well, that's really good. And passion drives ambition, what keeps us motivated. So you guys are all kind of like riding down that same path. I really appreciate that. Jake, what do you think?
I went with the R theme and went with results.
Yeah.
Not just financial, but quality work, We say we're gonna be reliable, we're giving them what we say we're gonna give them, yeah, results.
Results is good, and results actually was going to be our fifth one a while back. I was thinking about putting it in there because we get a lot of times hung up on a lot of other things, but then we still got to focus on the results, and we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up. Okay, let's go one more back into the room. How about Roy?
Inspirational.
Inspirational. Okay, very good. Inspirational. Ask
Because it starts with us. If we don't inspire guys to do the right thing, it'll never happen.
Yeah.
It starts with us. If we can't get it through in a timely fashion to inspire them to do a better job, be resourceful, you forget that. You forget everything. I mean, a lot of people right now can't even remember what the 4 R's are.
you say a lot of people.
People, you see it, you hear it, it's pounded into their heads every meeting. But you go out on the site, take a survey. I bet you half the people don't need SWOR. They see it, they know it, they don't practice.
Okay.
Now we need to inspire them as to why we need to do it.
Yeah.
Get them to follow it.
You know, something we did at Tober, stuff like that, we would print it, laminate it, and then job boxes, our company mission, stuff. We had it in the lids of the job box in the morning. They opened it up and it was right there.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I have a
Yeah.
I have one of our business cards backwards stuck in my dash.
Yeah.
You had them printed backwards.
No, on the back of our business cards.
Oh, you flipped it over.
It has our core values on the back.
Say respect backwards. I want to hear this. Okay, well, that's a good idea. And I like the idea of adding values to our gang boxes. I also noticed in our last couple of core meetings, we're not bringing them up. So I would say work them into your operations every single time. Bring up the core values, bring up the purpose, even go around the room and ask for people to call them out. I think that's a good way of doing it. But put them up there visually so they could see them too. Very important that we continue to drive that home. Kurt?
Relationships.
Relationships, another great one. And these are all really perfect for what's going to be talked about today. Relationships is the key to our success. I actually was listening to some recent, I call them podcasts, not really podcasts, or videos on YouTube. And they talked about happiness. You know, we talk about happiness a lot. Everybody wants, what's happiness and how do you define it? And they went up and interviewed people and said, what do you think? How you define happiness? People say, oh, money. Well, they did a whole bunch of researches. They've actually been doing a happiness study. It started in 1938, still going, to see what drives happiness. Anyone want to guess what the number one thing was?
Having relationships with
Having
other people.
having strong relationships, right? The strength of the relationships you have with other people drives that core of happiness. And so relationships really important. I think it also, when we're working, you know, this construction is tough business to be in, and there's challenging things going on every day. But to know we have people around us that care about us, that we can lean on, that is really powerful. Very good. Thank you. Okay, building to improve lives. I just want to make a special note about this. The grit recognitions. There are certain people that really go out of their way to send out grit recognitions. Now we're not going to necessarily pass out swag anymore. I think that kind of got overridden, but I think the emails that, you know, anybody's ever got a grit recognition knows that anonymous email coming through, recognizing something you've done, you don't know who it came from or where it came from. Now you look out at everybody you see and you think, maybe it was Jake, maybe it was Mickey, maybe it was whoever in the organization. It could be anybody, but that taking time to send somebody a recognition about something special now, it doesn't mean, hey, you know, good news, Vanna showed up, that she deserves her grit recognition. I'm talking about actually something that stands out. We want to definitely keep that, you know, important, but taking the extra time to do that, I love them. I get to see them all the time. I'm part of the email chain, and nothing better than seeing a grit recognition. You know, it's like every email you go through, you're always afraid, you know, something, we get those one or two bad emails every once in a while. But one thing I know, when I see a grit email coming through, it's going to be something really good. Or the testimonials from Google, even sometimes we hope 9 times out of 10, those are really good. It's those ones that aren't that like turn your stomach over.
And we read those in our service meetings morning. Gave
Good.
Their money, recognized them.
Great form of positive influences. Okay, opportunities, create opportunities to grow for the team. The key here is opportunities. I was sitting in the core meeting and I kind of watch and observe, and I saw individuals in the meeting who were really intent of paying attention. I saw other people that were sleeping or looked like they were upset to be there. And I've thought a lot about that since that meeting. And I want to know from their perspective, what is it about the meeting that you don't enjoy or that you don't like being a part of, and have a talk with them. So next meeting, unbeknownst to them, I'm going to be taking notes. Anybody that I see sleeping, not paying attention, or looking angry is going to get called into a special meeting after the fact to talk through the core meeting and find out what opportunities can we create for you that'll make you happier. Experiences, we want to create great experience for our customers who value our concern for their success. In other words, we really do care. And oftentimes we're always the one taking the bullet. We're always the one who absorbs the pain. The GC's upset with us because of our supplier. The customer's upset with us because of something that we had no control over. So we want to make sure we're staying in touch with the people that do value the effort we put forth. Unique services, that this comes into the idea of doing harder things. We don't want the easy way. If we go out looking for all the easiest projects, it's going to be low bid. We've turned into a commodity. I want to be an oddity. I want to be the company they call when they know there's something hard and they know SCG can take care of it. So we're going to be looking for those unique ways to do that. And when we find them, don't shy away from them. Run towards them. It usually generally means greater appreciation, even greater margin sometimes. The other one is getting better. Continuous improvement, focusing on 1% better. And 1% better is easy. That's why I say 1% better. If you can get down and do one push-up just tomorrow, see if you can do 1.1 push-ups. Just 1% better. That was 10% better. But think about that. 1% doesn't take much. If we can just get 1% better, do something every day to get a little bit better. That means you're going to make mistakes. That's okay. Learn from them. Get a little better tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years later, we look back and think, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how far we've come as a business, how far we've come as people. 1% better. That's all we're looking for. Okay. Quick side note. One of the things came up, and I think we're good on this, but I want to make sure we're very clear when we get a new project. Typically, there is a bid has been done for that job. So when we get that new job and we turn in that work order, we want to make sure that the accounting team has the contract and the budget when you go to get that work order set up. Now, if for some reason we're not 100% sure on the contract value, then you can offer a 0 and 0, which means we're gonna get you a job number, but we're not gonna set it up with a contract or a budget yet. But once we go in there with numbers, you have to have both. So we have to have that total accepted contract value, and then we want to know our estimated cost, and we want to know our gross profit. Got to have it, and you can pull it right off the estimate. If it's not already happening, it comes right off the estimate. This is a responsibility of the PM/estimator, whoever put the thing together. Now, the PM, the project manager, who maybe gets the handoff, can make some changes to it, but we want that initial budgeted, original budget in the system the same time the contract value goes in. You were going to ask something, Kirk?
Is contract synonymous with LOI, NTP, and contract?
Yeah. When I say contract, I really mean the accepted value is really what I should say. So the physical contract, that's okay, as long as it matches whatever we propose.
If we get a letter of intent with a dollar value, then we can
Yep.
ship it off.
That is good to get it going, get it started in the system. And that there's nothing wrong getting it going and getting the, lined up and getting the job number, make sure everything's set up in the system, letting estimating move do their thing. So really important step. It affects our ability to analyze jobs after the fact if we put a contract value in without putting a budget in. So these two things have to go in simultaneously. Another very important thing that's happening recently is we're getting a lot of customers who are slow paying or not paying. And the only thing we have to protect us is, one is the contract, and two is some form of notice of commencement, notice of furnishings that allows us to at least file a lien. Now, does anybody know what filing a lien means? What does that mean from a protection standpoint?
It protects us from them selling the property, so we get paid before they can sell it.
That's exactly right. So let's say we go do the job, $200,000 contract, they don't pay us anything. We file a lien on the building and they don't sell the building. What good is that to us? Now, maybe 5, 10, 20 years down the road, they sell the building and then they're going to have a problem.
But the problem with that, we have to do our diligence to renew the lease. Is it 5 years they expire or 3 years?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Summit County. Well, Summit County, they expire either 3 or 5 years, because I had somebody on a residential new house and I kept renewing that lien. It's $30 to renew, and I kept going to the courthouse every so many years till finally they went to sell and they had to see me first.
That's a shame. But again, doesn't do us any good. Doesn't help our business function. And here we go now with a time limit on the only thing that protects us. So understanding payment terms, understanding who the customer is. If we got a customer that you sense there could be a problem, get with the accounting team. They can do some research on this company and find out, is this someone we want to work with or work for? We don't want to take a chance. The court systems are not set up to get us paid. No one's going to pay us and no one's going to go put them in jail. There's no debtor's prison anymore. So getting paid is an essential part of our business. It's the fourth done of the four dones when we complete a project. And then change orders are another one. I don't mind working with the companies and doing change orders for them without an official written approval. Sometimes I've heard the old saying, no PO, no go. Well, in this day and age, there's certain customers you can trust and they're going to get back to you and they're going to get you that. And they're going to negotiate it with you. But you got to be careful on the ones that we don't know. They tell you to go do something. I'll take care of it later. And then the end of the job comes by and we've had this happen. Well, that superintendent doesn't work for us anymore. I don't remember approving any of this. We're done. We're out. We did all that for nothing. So again, knowing the situation you're in, being careful, knowing the customer, the relationship, all those things we're putting into your hands and saying, just make the right decision. We're not telling you have to do something black and white. Here's the guardrails, make the right decision, how you feel about that situation, that customer.
And have that talk with your foreman too at the kickoff meeting, so obviously the PMs are going to be the ones that understand how the customer works. If it's someone that, we're just not working with, hey, anything this guy comes to you with, follow it up with an email, even, hey, move this outlet over here. Say, hey, making sure move this outlet over here, copy me on it, copy their PM, copy their site super. So that way there's something to go back to. The days of going off a conversation are few and far between.
And
Yeah.
the project binders we put together have a DCR section where the foreman can make notes on those days that are important.
Good. Yeah. And that email, by the way, will hold up in court. If they respond back to it and say, yep, go ahead and do it, that actually counts as a contract.
What
Just so you
about
guys know.
following up phone calls? Actually, I'm not saying what about. It's good to follow up phone calls and say, hey, per our phone call today,
Yeah.
this is what I understood.
Yeah, that's a really good one. When you do have a phone call, follow up with an email per our conversation. I am going to move forward this change, or did I, make sure you see that and you approve of it. Anything that gets us in writing, because that again will hold up if it gets to court, and we want to avoid court if at all possible, but just in case. Okay. All right. New estimate sheet and work order review. So we continue to evolve, and we've kind of doctored up again. We have a lot of people that contribute to this, and Annette is one of them. She's works in the background a lot for COM on making sure that we have good information flowing through to the accounting team. So what we've done, a couple things different. One is that we have now created a front sheet called the estimate sheet. And what this does, this sheet pulls information from the rest of your takeoff. So before, if you've used this document, it may have been, this was used to do takeoffs by AUS and by COM primarily. Electric obviously can use this, but it pulls all this information in from other tabs. The only thing you have to fill in is your percentages, as you can see here in yellow. All of this information again pulls in. The manpower is a way of doing a takeoff. There's two different ways you can provide a quote. One is to take off all the material and assign labor units to each piece, and then say, okay, it's going to take 326 hours to do this job. The other way is to load it out and say, we're going to have 2 guys working for 2 weeks, and that comes out to be 320 hours. So there's just 2 different ways you can provide a job. This one allows you to do it in that other style, where you can say, okay, I'm going to put 8 hours, 2 hours of overtime for the next 3 weeks, and they're going to get the job done. It doesn't really care what material they're installing. It just says they're going to be on the job Monday to Friday for 3 weeks. 2 different styles of estimating. Both are okay. It depends on the situation on which one you use. We have the database estimate, which is where you can take care of your material. So on here, you can put your quantity of material in here. It'll follow it through and extend the price. You can also put labor in here for aggressive bids, middle of the road bids, and then change orders, where it's obviously going to take a lot longer to do these things because you're on a job, and we have to make sure we've got all the other things covered, and then it'll extend it out for you based on that quantity. Now, here's what's another nice element. So on here now, you can see some things that the person who used this last has entered some materials. Over here to your right, there's a tab called Complete Database. This is a complete database from EBM that includes every single thing that the electrical world has ever seen, 45,000 items, I believe. From here, you could, let's say if you have a unique situation, I have PVC coated rigid steel, and I want to take that and bring it over. I can copy that, come over to the database estimate and drop it in. And then it'll bring it over as part of your new estimate. So if you want to, so it's basically a database built within the estimate. You can pull it over. The other thing you can do is you can just go look that item up, type it in, and just plug in the price.
Now, Chris, those first 116 items that are there right now, are those on the complete database as well?
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yep.
can we add to the complete database?
Oh, yeah, yeah, you can add
Okay.
something that you find often that you're using. You can go to the complete database. One of the tricks is if you hit control and down, it'll take you to the next available line item. You can go down here and type in your stuff. If you see blue, that means it's a formula.
Oh.
That's quite a formula there, by the way, so don't try to recreate that, just copy it. But there's, you can fill in any information over here, and then you can leave it there for permanent use. You can overwrite things. These are yours. So when you're building the job, you can do whatever you want with this. The template, don't do it to the template, but do it to your specific job. You can overwrite anything you want on here,
Yeah, I was just gonna ask
except
about
for formulas.
getting a master list going, but it looks like you already got it. Thank you.
Everything, and if you're looking for something specific, you can go in two different ways to do that. You can do it in find, Control F, okay? And you can find that word you're looking for. The other way to do it is to go up here and start typing that word. So I want to see PVC cap, and so it'll sort by all the different PVC caps that are in the job. And then you can do the same thing, cut and paste that over if you want, or copy and paste it over, leaving that database there for future. Every time you go and bring this over off the template, save it as the job you're bidding. That's an important step. Save it as. So you don't send over, hey, look, we're going to review the job, and it's called STG FOC estimate template version 13.1. We want it to be called the name of the project that because that would be easier to find. If every time you guys do an estimate and you don't change the name, you're going to have 150 STG FOC estimate templates. And how are you going to know which is which? Okay.
Did you make it view only on Teams? So we know we can edit it.
That's a good question. So if we make this view only on Teams, and someone help me out answer this, and Jake, you might already know, if I make it view only and you open it up as a template, can you save as and edit?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can say that.
Okay, so that'll be the method. We'll put this on the Teams channel as a view only. You go in there, do a save as, now you can edit it. Here's all the equipment that we typically use and some prices, but you don't necessarily have to go with these prices. These are good references, but you can go and get actual prices for any special equipment. Subcontractors, same thing. You can fill in your subcontractor, make any adjustments you need. This is a manpower loading schedule, very powerful tool, especially for large jobs. Similar to the manpower sheet up here that's used for takeoffs, but a little different in that you can use this, break it up into phases, take your job and call out different phases or scopes of work and use this. You can then go over here and change it. If you have any questions about how to use this, let me know. It's a very powerful tool, very easy to use. Any changes you make to any of this, you're going to get all the way up to the front sheet.
Hey, Chris, one thing real quick on the equipment. Those rental prices are 2024 LEPO prices for all of that. So those prices are current. So we'll continue to update them as we get them. So if you're not sure about a price, those prices are correct.
Good. Thank you, Mike. This is the foundation sheet that is used to take that information and put into foundation. So as you're creating this and putting together, basically essentially becomes the work order. Here's the work order. This is where we get to fill out the information, estimate number, contract type, scope of work, customer, all that good information.
That's what I was telling you about, Mike, that foundations tab. That's the one Annette uses to key the budgets into foundations.
Got it.
And then on here also is a civil worksheet. So a civil worksheet is something that Joe put together. I think Tim's used it also. Helps you find out if you're trying to do some concrete or excavation work. Not sure exactly how this works. You'd have to get with Joe, Tim, maybe even Brian. You might know, do you use this at all? Brian does not. So get with Joe. He's the one that created it. He can help you. And even better, he could probably spit out the numbers for you. Okay. So that is 13.1. I'll get that on the Teams. And from now on, if we can just get rid of your 12 point or 11 point, or depending on what you're using, and pull in that 13.1, even if you just save it as 13.1 on your own computer and then keep pulling off of that, that's okay too.
Right now, Chris, it is saved in communications under shared documents.
Okay.
So we do have it in there right now.
Oh, okay. So we just got to get it on electric and AUS. And anytime we make any drastic changes, it would go from 13 to 14. Any minor changes go to 0.2, 0.3, 0.4.
I believe we have it saved already as well.
Okay.
I just create a folder, templates, proposals, the estimate file, anything that we're gonna have on here, just to create your own file. That way, when you edit it, it doesn't mess with anything.
Yeah, good idea. Any questions or thoughts about that?
Just like Mike was saying, the current equipment pricing for EBM, those that don't know should know that they're fluctuating.
Yeah.
For commodities.
Good point. Yeah, so the EBM database, while it's good to have at least a reference, don't necessarily use those as the guiding light. Those things fluctuate all the time. You got a large amount of something, you may want to go out and get actual quotes for it, but at least give you a good reference point.
And also on the estimate sheet, please make sure there's a suggested price and an actual submitted price. Please make sure to fill out the actual submitted price for the PO contract value, because it'll feed into the foundation sheet. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, oftentimes, as Annette was saying, that oftentimes the number rolls down and it's, $13,222, and we just round off, say $13,300. Well, then you would just type that in and say, here's the actual number we gave them. That is going to be the actual contract value, in spite of what the estimate said. Okay, so the limit to happiness. So one of the things that we have to keep in mind is, and this is what concerns me when I look out in the core meeting and I see individuals who aren't happy, who look bored or discontented, it concerns me deeply, because our customers are only going to be as happy as the people they deal with. So if we send someone to their house or we send someone to their job site and they're frustrated, angry, disheveled, that's what the customer thinks of STG. So we have two options when we're dealing with situations like that. One is that we have to bring them in, talk to them. Maybe there's something going on in their life and we want to help them. Or the other option, but we can't have people going out representing STG who aren't happy with STG, who don't want to be here. That's a whole nother situation. And this works all the way down the line. It works within our own organization. That person that's working with you is only going to be as happy or content or as pleased with the work as you are in dealing with them. So when you deal with someone in a very respectful way, you've at least passed that on to them. Now they're going to deal with somebody, hopefully at least at that same respect level. This is why it's so important that we take care of our team. Morale is greater than time. What does time stand for, Ryan?
Information, material, this tools, yeah, thanks. Tool, information, material, and equipment.
Yeah. Every technician needs time, tools, information, material, and equipment to get the job done. And it's important that they have that. We've got to give it to them. That is our job. Our number one job is to make sure they have everything they need to get the job done. They will go out and give the customer what they actually want. But I can tell you, the only thing more powerful than time is morale. Because if they have really good morale, in theory, you don't even have to give them time. They'll go find it. They'll be motivated and resourceful, and they'll go get what they need and go make it happen.
If you show you care about them, it really affects their morale.
And that's the whole point.
At the end of the meeting today, I asked them, what, as an office staff, can we do to make your job easier? What do you need?
Yep.
And they like that.
And
sometimes it's stupid little things that just makes it easier. I call it $10 fix. What little thing can we do to make it better?
Yep. Yeah, the solutions to our problems are in the questions we ask. The solutions to our problems are in the questions we ask. So when you ask that question, what is the problem? Or what issue do you have? Or what can we do to help fix this? That's where we're going to find our solutions. And especially for the people that are on the ground, the boots on the ground, the men and women in the arena, those are the ones we have to take care of. They're the ones that are doing the job that the customer's paying for. They're not paying us because they like our building or like our project management skills. They're paying us because they have construction needs and we're providing those to them. So we got to take care of our team, and their morale is critical. So again, when you see people in that core meeting that don't look happy or disappointed or sleeping, they're doing that in front of us. What do you think they're doing when they get to a job site? You think they're all of a sudden alert and excited? No, they're probably taking that right with them. These are the little things we got to pay attention for and work to improve. Okay, think about this for a second. What is our next move? It's 4th and goal on the 6-yard line. If you don't know football, that means you're about to score. You're 6 yards away from scoring. There's 3 seconds left in the game. What do you do?
Depends on the score.
What's the score?
That is the right answer.
Or Stefanski.
Brian said, if you're Stefanski, you just go for it. He doesn't even care what the score is. The right answer is it depends on the score. It depends on the situation. It depends on the statistics. It depends on the numbers. How can you guys make decisions if you don't know the numbers? If we're not keeping score, how do we know what decisions to make? If you're not pulling information from the system or tracking that job, how do you know what to do next? We have a very strong accounting team. They're getting stronger by the day. They're getting better understanding of how foundation works. We've got to lean on the accounting team to get us the information so we can make the right decisions. If jobs are losing money and we're out passing money out and blowing it in ways that make no sense, that's not helping the company. We have to know the score. So a think moment, thinker size. What numbers do you need to know to ensure success on your projects? You're running a project and you're about to make a big decision. What do you want to know about that job? Write down 3 things and then I'll call on you if I don't see you writing anything down. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Grant, give me one number that you would find important to know to ensure the success of your project?
On my budget.
Budget. As a project manager, you have to know the budget. You have to know a budget exists, and then you have to know what that budget is. And if you know your budget, then you also know your projected cost, and budget is the cost. You got your projected cost is your budget. You got to know your projected profit, right? You know those two things. You know what your job's expected to make. Very good. Thank you, Grant. Let's go back to the room. Kurt.
I had actual cost.
Actual costs. So if you know your budget, great, but you got to know your actual cost to know where you are on that job, percent complete wise. That's the only way we know. We know our actual cost, we know our budgeted cost. And you're always kind of watching those two things to make sure that the actual cost never exceeds the budgeted cost. Very important to know those two numbers. Great. Back to the calling board. How about George Covert?
How about your actual quantities installed to date?
Yeah, so if you're really tracking the job, is to know what's getting installed. Because there's two different ways to understand the percent complete of a job. The accounting style, as we just mentioned, is your actual cost of your budgeted cost. But the observed percent complete is going to be different. Why is the observed percent complete, observed, which is what he's talking about, actual installed? Why is observed different than actual cost over projected?
You could have spent half your budget, but only actually have 25% installed.
Yeah, how would you have spent your budget? Like, what's an example?
You're over on man hours,
Could be.
double your man hours already. So that's going to tell you that your percentage complete is much further along than it actually is.
True. Yeah, you're over on your budget, which means from an accounting standpoint, it looks like you're doing great. Yeah, we're 98% complete, but actual installation wise, we're not. But give me another example of another scenario where your percent complete could be higher than your observed percent complete.
You get invoicing for something expensive like gear, lighting, but it's not installed, so it doesn't look complete, but the costs are there.
Exactly. Yeah. So what Kurt said was you received a large amount of material, but you haven't really installed it. So the material hits the job, but you haven't put it in. So your observed percent complete, you walk out to the job site, you're saying, well, that's not done. Well, yeah, but we bought it. It's sitting there as a cost. So observed percent complete typically is going to be greater than your accounting percent complete. Okay, let's go into the room. Brandon, what do you think?
Hours you have to complete the job?
Good. So the hours to complete the job, understanding how many hours you had to bid, because typically what is our number one risk on any project? Labor is our number one risk. It's usually our highest cost on the project. So it's important to know where are we with our biggest risk, our biggest variable on any project. Jimmy, what do you think?
Material cost.
What are your material costs? So now we know our actual cost, but now let's break it down into material, into labor, and start looking at it from a different level. When we get an income statement, what do you think you look at on income statements? Full of lines. It's got probably 40, 50 lines. What do you do when you get an income statement? What's the first thing you go? Gross?
Tax.
What's that?
Or tax taken out.
We don't look at tax. Oh, you're looking at your own personal. I'm talking about the company income statement. What's the first, where do we go? First thing.
The net, what's left over?
Yeah, we go all the way to the bottom. And guess what? If that net looks really pretty, how much time do we spend looking at the rest of the financial statement?
Not a lot.
Not very
Not a
much.
lot. When it looks bad, how much time do we spend looking at the financial statement?
As
All
much
of
as
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it works. When things are going good, we look at it, great, we're making money, boom, we're on to the next thing. When we're not making money, we start looking for the problem. Where's the hole? Where's the leak?
But on that note too, when we go down through the whip, we do the same thing. We look at the percent, our gross margins, and if they're all good, then we move right past them. If we see one that's a little lower than it should be, that's the one we drill into.
You're right about that. We tend to, when looking at numbers, tend to focus on the negatives. And that's unfortunately a habit. It's not the good habit, but it's our problem solving mindset. We go to the jobs that have exceeded 100%.
It's the first sort. That's the first filter.
I know. What jobs are over our budget? That's the first thing we look at. We don't go to say, hey, what jobs are doing greater than 40% margin? And we should do that.
We do look at that too. I do want to know. We absolutely look at that. We go down, we're like, guys, I mean, you did awesome on this job. So we do pay attention to that.
And that's good, and we should. And unfortunately, Jake hit something that I used to do at my old company, is that if a job made over 40%, I was still in a inquisition mode. Like, how on earth did you make more than 40%? I need to understand this. So even when things go really well, we're still questioning why did it go so well. But that's a side note. It's just really important to celebrate our victories. Also very important that we keep an eye on things that are leaking. So
That's a good thing for the PM to dive into too. Like, yeah, you're going to look into your jobs that, didn't go as well, but also look at the ones that do go very well and think back, like, what did I do different on this one? Or what went different on this one than the rest? And you're going to start picking up on little subtle things that you don't even think about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of let's learn from the success, not always have to learn from falling or failing. So another good example. Okay, let's go back to the board. Heather.
Different thought process, but you need to have your contact phone numbers so you can talk change orders with your customer all the time.
That's good. Keep that phone number warm. Put it on your favorites list right below your spouse. Make sure we get our change orders addressed. Okay, good. How about back to the room? Let's go to Larry.
Reports for materials to go.
Okay, so understanding what do we still have to buy? We know how much we bought, but what, even though, okay, so if I thought I was gonna have $100,000 in material, and I spent 75, does that mean I only have 25,000 left to buy? We don't know that because that's not a forecast. A forecast is, okay, here's what I bought. What do I have left to buy? How much is that gonna cost me to buy? That's a forecast. All right, let's go back to the screen. Dan Etler, what are we missing? I'm gonna keep going around this table until somebody says it.
I guess if it's an established customer, what historically we've charged them in the past so that we can look at putting a change order together that'll be, I guess, successfully received by the customer.
Yeah, that's good to know. We got a lot of history in this company. We're a established company. Go back to the history, find out information from past jobs, past successes, and see if what you're doing now lines up.
Chris,
Yeah.
what about actual percent complete so that we know how to bill or when to bill?
Okay, you closed with the right statement. And we already talked about percent complete. So percent complete is actual cost over budgeted cost, but the word I'm looking for is invoicing or billing, cash flow. You got to know your cash flow on a project. How many of you had cash flow written down somewhere on your sheet?
I had pay points,
You had what?
pay points.
Pay points. Yeah. Cash flow. We got to start thinking more about cash flow. Unfortunately, it doesn't come up very often, but it needs to because it's an essential part of our business, especially now with customers that aren't paying. And it's not even anything that we did. It's just the customer had no intention of paying. So we got to be really careful with our cash flow. Over under billings is another thing we target when we go look at the WIP. We should be targeting every single time. Get those billings in as much as you can, as often as you can.
Try to load the job up front.
Yeah, load that job. Yep. If you can bill as much upfront as you can, they're not going to pay us for 30, 60, 90 days anyway. So get it out there, get that request into them. We need cash flowing through this company because it definitely flows out. What's net payment terms on labor?
Weekly.
7 days. Every 7 days, we are sending out that. We can't tell electricians, hey, we'll get you when we get paid. Paid when paid. How long are we going to keep people on our team? Not very long.
8 days.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, 8 days. So yeah, we got to make sure we are getting those requests out there, getting paid by our customers, essential to our success.
And
All right.
something else to add to that also, Chris.
Yeah.
Kurt and I worked real well on the last project that we did. Kurt was, I'm from the field. I'm currently trying to come in here. Kurt had a good system working that Kurt provided us on the jobs. Here's your hours. Here's the material. Here's your deadline. Kurt would sit down with a projected schedule. He said, here's start to finish. We have to be done. We have this many hours. Where can we budget those hours and the money allocated for that job? Kurt had a great system that kept us informed. Says, hey, here's what you got left on your job. You've got 300 hours. You got 5 weeks to get it done. Project your manpower. He had a good system working for that. And it worked. I believe it worked well. Do you agree, Kurt?
Yeah.
We did well with it. We had a good customer. Everybody always says, hey, Roy, they'll come to me and say, hey, you did a great job running this job. It wasn't just me. I have the organizational skills that set it up. The members out in the field are what make project managers, foremen, what they are.
Yeah.
And Kurt has a good system. Not really what I got used to being out in the field, but once you see the projections, that's what the guys need to see.
Yeah.
And he had a great system that worked well for both of us.
Kurt's head's so big right now, he's floating away. So I'm going to bring him back into this conference room.
Well, and I would like to start seeing a lot more of that going out.
Well, you hit on a really good point, and that is setting expectations is important. If you read a great book, it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And one of the things it talks about in there is people want goals. Charles Schwab had a steel mill that was doing very poorly. And you can go in there and yell and scream and tell them to do better and work faster. But he did one simple thing. You walked in one day, he asked them how many of these things got produced last night. They said 6. He wrote a big number 6 on the wall, and the midnight shift came in, saw the 6. They said, what's the 6? So that's how many the afternoon shift got, or the day shift got done. And so they said, oh, okay, we'll see, we'll beat that. And they wiped it out and put 7 because they got 7 done. Well, the day shift comes back and they see the 7. and they went up to 10. And all of a sudden it became one of their best producing factories, not because of anything they did different than do what? What they do, essentially.
Provide information.
They provided some information. They gave them something to shoot for. And that's what those things do, those expectations to say, here's what you're shooting for. Here's the goal. We all love to play games. Most of us played sports at some point in time in our life. We like that competition. We want to know that what we're doing is good or not good, and we'll find ways to improve it. I'll tell you another quick story. This is applicable to STG Electric. Every single job we did at least went over 50%, usually double the amount of hours we had estimated the job. Every single one. And we're sitting in a meeting, and one of the team members says, what if we gave them a bonus, the field team a bonus if they beat the hours? I'm like, heck yeah, who cares? We're doubling them anyway. Let's give them a bonus if they beat it because they're not beating it. We implement the bonus plan, and guess what happened? Anybody want to guess? We started beating the hours. On like 4 out of 5 jobs, we're beating the hours. Before, it was 0 out of 5. And just by saying, here's the hours, if you beat them, we'll bonus you. All of a sudden now, 80% of the jobs are beating the hours. Pretty amazing. Just that little extra oomph, that information, competition, all those things come into it. And now they're beating the hours. People want something to shoot for. They want goals. As a project manager, give them goals. Tell them what you expect. Follow up with them on the expectations. And I guarantee you're going to see better results. And if they're not meeting those goals, I bet they have a good reason why they're not.
And Chris, I think people want to succeed. So you can give them the goal and then they're going to shoot for it because they truly do want to do well at their jobs, at home.
Absolutely. People want to succeed. I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe there's a small portion of people that lack ambition, lack motivation, all those things we talked about earlier. But in the essence, and probably it happened somewhere along the life where somebody just kept beating on them and they just kind of gave in. But for the most part, people do want to succeed. And if we give them those goals and give them some reason to be motivated and give them some opportunities to grow, they're going to take them. Yeah, Kurt.
Well, as on Pearl, we had 3 or 4 foremen go through the job before Ted finally finished it out. And we talked just like Roy and I talked, and he would say, I didn't have any control at the beginning half of the project. And so, well, we've got 300 hours left after the manpower loading schedule. So we could break that. I bought everybody hoodies. They came in like 350, I think. So we didn't do a bonus because you are not taking into account all those people that may or may not have had positive or negative influence in the beginning, but the guys that finished it strong, and that was their goal. That was their reward.
Yeah. So Kurt improvised on the situation where we weren't going to beat the hours, but he said, here's another way. If you beat the remaining hours, we'll get you hoodies. And they did that. So again, giving them something to shoot for is a great way to keep the morale up, motivate the team, keep them inspired. That's great. Good example. Okay. Close with the thought. I call it pick your struggle. Success is hard. Oftentimes people ask that question, oh, how'd you get to that level? And you talk about, oh, I get up early, or I read books, or I have those difficult conversations, or whatever it is that you do. Success is hard. And people say, I can't do that. There's no way I can do that. But I'll tell you what else is hard. Being broke is hard. Defeat is hard. Being poor is hard. Having a reliable vehicle, not being able to pay your bills, having bad relationships, always in a dramatic situation. That's hard. Very hard. So my point to you is pick your struggle. It's hard either way. So do you want it to be hard and be in control, or do you want it to be hard and struggle and fight to survive? These are thoughts for you just to keep in mind. We have a great opportunity. We're growing a great company. We're starting to add customers every single day that really enjoy our people, and we're really essentially a 20-year startup. Pick your struggle. Do you want the success hard or the defeat hard? Okay, that's all I have, folks.